13.3 Example Project Structure to help you understand better this project. So let's look at the MVC structure. First, this example, it's not a Spring MVC example. So it is a ordinary servlet JSP example. Okay. So we just use servlet JSP Java beans to do this example. But you can see we have some, approximate MVC structure. So although we do not use any MVC framework like Spring, but we pretty much use the MVC, not in a strict way, but in a, approximate way. Yeah. So look at the structure here. So I use our Eclipse project folder project structure tree here. Yeah. First, we have a Java bean, and this is our model object. Yeah. Standard Java bean. Yeah. Then we use this list prob servlet. So this is our controller. Yeah. So we use it as a controller. Yeah. So then JSP, this one, view. Okay, yeah. And this is our welcome page. This is our welcome page. Yeah. This welcome page, we just redirect the request to servlet. Yeah. So call servlet, call our controller servlet. So then in this controller, we access database. And prepare model for display. Okay, yeah. When we display data, so we use that Java bean to store each data item. Yeah, so then a list of Java beans is stored in request scope. Request scope. Yeah. Then in this view, retrieve and display data from the request scope. All right. And this controller, from controller to view, we use the forward way. Because when we use forward, we stay in the same request scope. Okay, yeah. Otherwise, because other than forward, there is a redirect way. redirect way. If we use redirect way, we will start a new request scope. We don't want to start new request scope. If we start new request scope, the data in the previous request scope gone, disappear. Yeah. All right. So here you can see I described, how things work together. Okay, how things work together. Okay, if you have some basic background, so now you can, put things together so you can understand how this project work. Yeah. All right. So then another important thing I want to talk about is here, look at all these folders. Look at this folder, these three folders. These three folders all about images. Yeah. Because in the questions I give you, many questions contain images, figures in, math questions. Yeah. So we need to display images. So the next question is how to display images. Yeah, all right. Yeah. The next slide I will talk about that. How to display images. I will explain the details in next slide. Before we go to that, this line, servlet configuration using annotation ways. See, annotation way, we do servlet configuration. Very simple, servlet configuration. So then in our web.xml, we do not need to do servlet configuration. We only configure welcome file. Okay, yeah. So you only see welcome file configuration in web.xml. Yeah, servlet, we use annotation way, a simple way. Okay, yeah. All right. Now, let me explain how to access images. Right? Yeah. First, to store, display images. So images, so we do not store images in our database. Yeah. So many students asked me this question before. Yeah. So how do we store images? Okay. Where do we store images? Yeah. So there is one possibility, because images are data, right? So there is one possibility, images could be stored in our database. But although you can do it, yeah. So the DBMS can store images as binary data, but it's not a good way to do it. It's not a good way. Why we should store images directly inside our DBMS? Yeah. Okay, so we store images on the hard drive of the server. Okay, yeah. Then, in order to access that, we just use the img tag, src, the location of the image tag, we can display images. So you can, here I take one example from a question. You can see, I just select one question. You can see this image tag as a string content in the question. Okay, so then, you know, other part of the question. Yeah. So then when you load, so you display this on the web page, the browser will, after the browser sees this tag, the browser will load image from this location and display it. So you do not need to, you know, worry about, so if this string corresponds to the real image location in the hard drive, then you can access, you can load it easily. Okay? Yeah. So in that case, you can see you just use the image location as an IMG in your IMG tag to display one image. How simple is that? Okay, how simple is that? Okay, all right. Yeah. So, and when we store the data, we just store this string connecting that image in our database. We do not store the, you know, image content in our database. So that's different. The image content, you know, the binary content. DBMS can store binary content, but we do not need to do that. It's not a good way to do that. Right? It's not a good way to do that. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. So that's the typical way to store images and used in your web pages. Yeah. All right. So that's the part of B.3. Yeah. Let's start.